So we're going to meet one of those entrepreneurs now, one of those people who's been working, toiling for years. We actually had Jim Core up on stage at one of our events in Chicago a couple years ago, and his story about how he's managed to create the first 3D designed, the 3D printed car is a really extraordinary one, but I think it's a great example of the future of not just prototyping, but of manufacturing itself. Please welcome the founder of Core Ecologic, Jim Core.
Thank you, Joel. Hello, everybody. Wow, it's sure a true honor to be here. I'm going to show you 83 slides in 10 minutes. So all I can suggest is just stay calm and hang on, and we'll get through this. So if we could have the slides. I'm going to talk about the philosophy behind the car that we've created and what excites us about 3D printing and why we're incorporating it into the design of this car. I'd like to challenge your human brain to think about this artifact, the automobile, in a different way. It's expanding more than humans on the planet. So this is the car that we developed. It's called Erbe, standing for Urban Electric. And we tested it at Birds Hill Park in Gimli, near where we live. And we had quite a bit of technical success with this car. And we also had quite a bit of media attention on the car, and that continues. The actual car is on its way to London and Paris for the 3D print shows there. And the interest revolved around three things. One is that we 3D printed the body on this car, the first time I believe that was done. The machine on the left 3D printed the body, and they're both about the same size. We also thought this was the greenest car ever envisioned in the world. And we thought that it was the first car, practical car, that you and I could use daily that could run solely on renewable energy. So I'm an introvert. Actually, it's way worse than that. I'm a hermit, and I've been under intense training and therapy in order to be able to pull this off. And I represent a pretty talented group of people. We're all product designers, and our background is farm equipment and city and inner-city buses. And I still see a lot of the stuff I worked on in the field, and it's like meeting an old friend. Now, I've always been passionate about cars, but I think my career never took off because I forgot to wear shoes in this photograph, trying to look my business best right after I graduated. I'm from Winnipeg, Canada. And it's a beautiful city, great city to raise children. It's surrounded by wheat fields and by 100,000 natural lakes. And this is the landscape that molded sort of my concern for nature. I also live here, like we all do, and this photograph of the Earth had a tremendous impact on my worldview of where I lived. So philosophy attempts to answer this question: how should we live on this planet? And as an example, Steve Jobs said, we're here to put a dent in the universe, otherwise why else even be here? Now, I'm not sure I'm allowed to do this, but I sort of respectfully disagree with Steve Jobs. I'm not sure I'm allowed to come to San Francisco and say that. But as I've gotten older, I've thought of the Earth as sort of a cabin in the woods. And it's incredibly inhospitable outside, and we have to take care of the cabin. So my philosophy is that Earth is a very unique place within the universe, the only place where we can live, and we should dent it as little as possible. Now, designing farm equipment and buses is one thing, but designing cars is extremely difficult. And that's because they're full of fantasy and style. Cars have to have huge grills, and they got to have lots of exhaust pipes. The more, the better. So this would be a great car, and this would be even a better car. So with Erbe, you have to think the complete opposite. It's a low-energy car, and it's more reminiscent of the Model T and the Volkswagen, but with crashworthiness and emissions sort of put into it. So the fundamental idea behind Erbe, in using renewable energy, you have about 100 times less energy to play with than fossil fuels. So are you ready for this basic idea behind Erbe? So when you have less dog to play with, you have to focus on the dog sled and make it way more efficient. So we started with calculations and comparisons like engineers do. We did some CAD models when we started to visualize what the car would look like. Then we built a mule or a working chassis. Then we carved the body out of clay like they do with real cars. We had it scanned into the computer. And we did aerodynamic simulations to make sure that we could get the numbers we needed. And then using Autodesk Showcase, we could show people what the car would look like even though we didn't have a body. So here it comes. That's the computer image. And we showed that to Stratasys and asked if they could print this body on these machines. And they said they could. So the first thing we did was build a scale model. And this was to make sure that all these pieces would fit. There's about 20 pieces involved. And then when those pieces fit, those exact same computer files made the large pieces. And then we fitted them to the chassis. And as we finished, we started to think that, hopefully not too arrogantly, but we thought one day all cars will look like this because this shape honors the physics and thermodynamics of the problem. And the big deal is that on average, Erbe traditional cars takes about 8 times more energy than an Erbe. Now, Jeff Hansen on the left is the visionary at Stratasys, and he said that with these 3D printing machines, I've heard him tell the media that if you have enough budget and enough time, you could 3D print an aircraft carrier. So it kind of gives you an idea of where this technology has gone. But what we like about 3D printing is that it can print anything. And when you can print anything, you can think of everything. And biomimicry, Janine Benyas says it so eloquently, but biomimicry holds the key to sustainable design, learning from nature. I don't say it as eloquently, I just tell people there are no square fish in the ocean. I tell people there probably were, but they were eaten. That's because nature is extremely efficient. So just look at this comparison. Here's a machine able to do 70 miles per hour on gasoline. It's an Austin Mini. And here's an X-ray of an animal able to do 70 miles an hour. It's a cheetah. And notice the cheetah at speed. And a cheetah has very little ears. They're tiny, but he's got them flat on his head to improve his aerodynamics. And we still need to learn how to do that. And then there's the Peregrine Falcon, just perfection, absolute perfection in aerodynamics. And we still seem to look for bigger engines instead of sort of focusing on that side of the equation. So let me tell you a bit about Erbe 2, where we're going to incorporate way more 3D printing technology. About half the car now will be 3D printed. But the Erbe 2 story, the second car, starts actually in 1903, the first American road trip, coast to coast. And that car polluted really heavily, but it was driving through a pristine landscape. It was done by Horatio and his mechanic and a dog, and they needed 800 gallons to cross the country. In contrast, in 112 years later, with Erbe 2, we plan to drive a rather pristine car through a damaged global environment that desperately needs our attention. And we hope to do it with 10 US gallons of fuel, 2 people and a dog. Here are the 2 drivers, my 2 sons. And here's our dog Cupid that'll go in the car. We're told by some PR people that our trip should cause a media bonanza and hopefully get a Guinness record. New York to San Francisco, 2 people and a dog, 10 gallons of fuel, just hit print. But most importantly, all that aside, this Erbe 2 road trip will clearly demonstrate what is achievable within sustainability when concerned people work together toward a common goal. So let me end by summarizing what I've learned so far from my favorite project, actually. Today, there are about 1 billion cars in the world. When my boys are my age, there could be 2.5 billion cars in the world. And if these cars use fossil fuels, some believe, as I do, it could be an ecological catastrophe. How these future 2.5 billion cars are designed is extremely serious business. So I don't believe in abundant and free energy anymore. I think there's a price to be paid sometime in the future. I use horsepower as my guide. I think we need to use less horsepower, not more. I use nature as my teacher. And I think we can design some beautiful machinery that will astound us all when we kind of go in this energy efficiency direction. And I think 3D printing or additive manufacturing, these factories of the future, play a critical role in sort of us achieving sustainability. So let me just say one thing, that kind of a sweet thing that happened with this project. When I started to actually work on the car, I noticed that my sons noticed. And I kind of noticed that their friends noticed too. And so what I learned was that action speaks way louder than words, doesn't it? We're the adults. We should make sure that the cabin is in good shape for these next upcoming generations. We have a website, and I believe we're soon on Kickstarter. I thank you for your attention. Thank you, Joel, Green Biz. You guys have been great. Thank you very much. All right, Joel? Yeah, thank you very much.